Hey there, welcome or welcome back to Oops, I Planted Again. My name is Courtney, and I really want to get a lot better with documenting my houseplants, because if you've been following me for a while, or even if you haven't, I think I've only mentioned this a couple of times, but I got my first houseplant in 2017, I think, when I was 25. Yes, it was for my 25th birthday. So that was over 6 years ago. And I didn't really start documenting my plants, whether it was like on any social media platform really, until about like 2021. So that was only 2 years ago, which is crazy that it's 2023. But anyways, I want to get a lot better with documenting my plants because one, I really enjoy it too. And two, I really like sharing it. And today's video, I want to document my house plants and some of the problems that I'm facing right now. One, because I feel like there's not enough videos about houseplants that are not doing well. And two, like I said, I really want to document this process and I really enjoy bringing you along with me. So we're going to go through some of my houseplants and I'm going to share with you some of the issues that I've been running into. A lot of them are kind of the same, but not really. And I also want to talk about what I plan on doing in the next couple of months to kind of hopefully get to a solution for these houseplants. So the first plant I want to show you is the neon pothos. I'm going to show you two actually because they have a shared solution that I just have not been doing, and I'm going to do it eventually. But I have this neon pothos right here, and this is my original one that I've had, I think, for like almost a year. I've had it at least a year, but you can see like it has a lot of yellowing and it's kind of leggy and all around like it's alive just because I just watered it, but it's not doing amazing. So one of the major issues is that I wanted to join this pothos with this pothos to make a big bushy neon pothos. However, time just keeps slipping away from me with this plant. So when that happens, I have a tendency to like ignore plants until they're like falling over and then I water them. And that's a form of overwatering because basically what I'm doing is I'm starving the plant of water and then I'm flushing it with a bunch of water at once. And once the roots are already completely dried out and then I flush it again, it's almost like I'm drowning them. So that is an issue that keeps coming up for me with this plant and some other plants as well. And the solution for me is actually to combine these plants together like I've been saying I've been supposed to do, and then actually put this plant outside of the plant room. Because when I feel like I want to work on a plant project, I kind of just throw the plant in the plant room and then it just lives there for a couple of months instead of me actually being like, oh, hey, let me do this project, combine them, put them together, make them look cute, put it out in the house like I've been meaning to do. And, you know, that's just not a solution. So this has not had any pests, neither has the other one, but I still did preventative maintenance on these yesterday. So that was in my video. That was 2 days ago. So yeah, the solution is to just actually do the project, combine them. And I think one of the things that overwhelms me sometimes with plant projects is that I want to do 100 at one time. And then like I don't, and then everything suffers. So I think maybe if I actually just like decide to do it, or maybe I kind of like break down all of the projects that I want to do and kind of like schedule them in, because I have a lot more time and flexibility now than I used to. I think it will be easier for me to get this done. Like if I set a date, like I want to get this done within the next 2 weeks. And then also it encourages me to film it and make sure I have a video prepared for it and everything. So that's really the ultimate solution with this plant. In the meantime, I need to keep on top of this plant being hydrated because I have had so many neon pothos. This is the longest I've actually held on to one. And they tend to be a lot more thirsty than my other pothos. And I made a video about my pothos collection in 2021. And then I made one previously in 2020. And yeah, this, out of all of them, like this one has just always been the absolute thirstiest. And I just really need to keep on top of it because we don't want like all of these things to continue to happen. And like this one is pretty bad. Like at the end it's awesome, right? But here we have all of these dead leaves. So what I'm going to do also when I do this repot is I'm just going to chop this whole tendril off, and then I'm going to cut it basically right here and then just stick that back in to the main big plant when I combine both plants. And I'll probably have to do that for a lot of these because they've gotten pretty leggy just because of my bad watering habits. Next up, we have a Philodendron gloriosum. And to be completely honest with you, all three of my gloriosums are not doing fantastic, and I will show them as I'm talking about their issues, but I'm going to start with this one. So honestly, I've had so many gloriosums and they have done really well. And I don't know, the last couple of months, they have just taken a downturn. It could be the winter time. It could be literally anything. So this one in particular used to sit under my, what is it called? What is that called? My humidifier. My humidifier inside of the grow tent. And whenever I fill up the humidifier, I tend to like drop water all the time and just, I don't know, I'm not really careful with it. And also there have been times, like especially when I first got my grow tent, and especially during summertime too, I would have the humidity in there too high, and because of the size of my grow tent, it would like go to the top and drop down. And this was one of the major plants that was affected. It really didn't happen to too many of my plants, but this one took a beating. And you can see like all of these like mold spots and everything. And it's taken its toll on this plant. And I repotted it in the last couple of weeks to this method because it was just in moss, which if you just use moss, it tends to dry out rather quickly, like no matter what. So you have to keep on top of it. So now it's in moss and then like in perlite at the bottom, and this is the water reservoir filled up with water. So I was a little concerned. Every time I look in my grow tent over the last couple of weeks, this one hasn't looked any better. So I was like, oh, okay, well that method didn't work. But when I pulled it out today, I saw that a new leaf is popping out. I don't know if you can see that. It's right there. So this method is working, but I'm gonna lose all of these other leaves. So one of the things that I did to fix this was to take it out from that location under my humidifier. Also turn down my humidity. It's a lot less. And I have a fan in there, but I could probably get another one. But also I have been leaving open, you probably can't tell in the camera because you can't see at the top, but I've been leaving open a big flap, where the zipper comes down, like the door, I've been leaving it open a little bit more because the humidity is a lot higher lately in the winter. And especially because, I don't know, my house is just very humid. I don't have a problem with it, and I live by myself, so I can do whatever I want. So I think that also contributes to the humidity being even more higher than it should be in the grow tent. So I've been trying to find ways to do that, but I should get another fan. And yeah, so although this looks terrible, it will recover. And that's my favorite thing about the gloriosum, is because it just usually bounces back, which I think makes me still love it. But I'm still sad that this was 4 leaves. This was big, like it was amazing. And now it's nothing, but it will come back. So I'm going to show you the other 2 gloriosums and talk about the issues that I've had with those. Here we have another gloriosum. Now, this is the only one that I have in soil. This one used to be in moss, and then I put it in soil because I got this container from Target, and I just really wanted it to, grow in here. And I'm really surprised, to be honest with you, that it's actually this small. Like, yes, it has a new leaf coming, but this new leaf has been a long time coming, and this one is, this is gone. I could rip it off. But I don't know if it's the soil or just, I don't know. It seems to dry out so much quicker than it was before, and it just doesn't seem to be growing as fast as I thought it would. Oh wait, hold on. Oh cool, it has pest. So that's probably part of the issue. Great, okay, well, it has spider mites. So that could be it. Yeah, it could be the spider mites. But also, it was this way facing the inside of my house, and it's right in front of a window, and I saw that it was leaning towards the window. So I ended up turning it around because I thought that would help it to be getting more light. But then you can see this one started leaning back this way, and it was just all over the place. But yeah, this has pest. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to leave it in this container, even though I don't love this soil, but I think it is the Fox Farm soil, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to use systemic in this, and then I'm going to spray it down. And I think that'll help. And I'll put it in the shower because I don't tend to put this one in the shower, but I will do that because I think it's going to help. So that's going to be our solution for this plant and isolation. We have another Gloriosum that I did in a Leca perlite moss mixture. And honestly, I think this leaf is going to rot for some reason. Why I think that is, one, this plant has had a leaf come out and then and it rotted. It didn't even unfurl, but it stayed like this for a really, really, really long time. And I've had Gloriosums that have lived outside of the grow tent before, but I don't know that I want to put them back in just because I don't know. I just want them out of the grow tent. So like, could I increase the humidity? I don't know that I want to or that I feel like it. So I'm just going to have to find a solution that works for me. And you know what? I actually have like this little essential oils, like, mister thing that I could put in this room, especially near these plants, but these are going to be isolated anyway, so it's going to be annoying, but I could do that as well. To help kind of unfurl this plant, because I'm not going to rip it open myself, because I just don't do that because I don't want the plant to rip or break. So yeah, and I also need to fill this up because I haven't filled it up in a while, but the moss, the top layer of moss is still moist, so that's why I tend to be able to let it go longer without having to fill up the bottom part with water. But yeah, I'll do that. And I'll probably do a preventative treatment just because I don't see anything. But it was over there near the other Gloriosum, so I'd rather just do it now than try to like wait until something is wrong with it. So yeah, I mean, it's here, but it could be better. I mean, I guess I'll explain to you what this is and why it's dead. So this is an Eperpymnum pinnatum albovergata, and this is a plant that I imported almost a year ago. I got it spring of last year. And in that import, I had a couple of plants that died off immediately, that had no leaves, that had nothing. And I was very upset. This is one that I had to propagate basically. And I propagated it in Leca in the grow tent, and it seemed to be doing fine. But then I noticed it stopped growing. And when I did a video a couple weeks ago where I was doing grow tent maintenance, and I pulled this one out and realized it had no roots. So that's not really a good sign. It still had a node, so what I did was just stick it in moss because I thought that would be the best option to do so, and clearly it wasn't. Like, the moss is still a little, it's like barely moist, but it's a little moist, but this plant just like disintegrated basically by itself. And honestly, I couldn't tell you what the major issue with it was, because I have other plants that I imported in that same batch that are doing extraordinarily well. So this one in particular, I think once the roots were gone in the Leca, I probably should have just given up then, but I didn't really want to, and now it's dead. So yeah, it's dead. This is my Anthurium regale, and you may say, wow, that's like a big, nice new leaf. This is the first nice new leaf that I've had with this plant since I got it in April of last year. It was doing like decently when I got it from the Ecuagenera pop-up in Houston last year, and then it just seemed like it grew, I think it grew like 1 or 2 new leaves, and then it just turned to shit. And this was before this one. This was the last leaf that came in. So I'm thinking, like, what the fuck did I do? Because, like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? All this time I'm waiting for this new leaf, and this is what happens. And like I said before, I never rip open the leaves because I'm paranoid that they're going to turn out like this. And it did turn out like this anyways. I've had 2 leaves. Actually, now that I think about it, both of my plants from the Ecuagenera pop-up, they both had a leaf come out like this. So that's kind of weird. So this happened, and I don't think in my January plant diary video, this had all the dead leaves still on it. I just ripped them off recently, and I think for me, humidity and light kind of helped this pop out a lot more than when I had this one, because this one was downstairs on a shelf. It was near a humidifier, it had light, but it wasn't in as like an intense like humidity situation as it is now. So I think that's what helped me bring this new leaf back to life. But this needs a serious repot. And I say that because I just put water in here like very recently, and here are what the roots look like. So I feel like sooner rather than later, it's going to be smart of me to actually repot this so we can get another beautiful leaf. And I've heard that regals like only like to pop out one like really poppin' leaf at a time. So I'm hoping that's not true. And I think I'm going to also like put moss around here and air layer it. I don't think I've actually done that before. Now that I think about it, yeah, I don't think I've done that before. So that's something else that I want to do with this plant. But most importantly, I need to repot it ASAP because I really just want to be prepared and give it the like space that it needs to continue to grow. And you can see it has like a little bit of imperfections, but you know, that happens. I just like would like this to not ever happen again. This calathea has been the bane of my existence. I got this recently from IKEA a couple of weeks ago, and it has just had issues the entire time. So I've talked about this before, but the IKEA mix that they have their houseplants in sucks. And normally I don't repot plants as soon as I get them. 1, because I'm lazy, and 2, I just don't think it's necessary if it's just like if the plant is chilling. But this one I should have repotted a lot sooner. And honestly, I've lost a ton of leaves, and I decided to do it in the drainless method, which I think works really well for most plants. But you can see this is completely dried out. The soil is still a little bit moist, but it has been sucking up water so much. And I'm so confused by that because calatheas, yes, they like to be hydrated, but I just feel like something is weird about this plant, and it is consistently sucking up that water like it's crazy. And it's like, you're drinking all that water, why are you still ugly? That's what I'm concerned about. Like, I have, like I said, the humidity in my house is higher than the average person, and like you have light, like I'm giving you what you need. So what the fuck? And as far as my solution for this, it's going to be nothing. I'm just going to keep watering it and just let it keep drinking the water. That's all I can do for this plant at this point, because honestly, I don't even have the energy to deal with it. Okay, so this plant is getting on my nerves. This is one of the Paraiso Verdes I have, and I repotted it into the drainless method. And honestly, I don't have that many issues at all with the drainless method. Usually plants, they take a while to get adjusted to it, but once I do, it's like super, super fine. But this one in particular, it's already lost a leaf from the bottom, and this is the second leaf it's lost. And it could just be that it's like older leaf, blah, blah, blah. But also the stem isn't looking great. And that's what my main concern is, that the stem doesn't look as good at the bottom as it does at the top. Now, my 2 options in my eyes are, 1, to just leave it, let it go, let it get adjusted, or chop it basically right here and then just stick this part, because it has these aerial roots in here, and then kind of just like start over with the plant. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait and see if the yellow continues to like right here, if it's not completely rotted or anything, because this stem is not soft. Like, it's hard, it's fine. It's not fine, but I'm saying it's hard. So I think if it gets any further, that's what I'm going to end up doing. And, I don't know, because this plant is growing. Like, it's growing. But then it also has this, like, weird growth right here. Like, the fact that this one grew first and then this one came, it's so odd. But it's alive and it's growing. So there shouldn't be too much concern. And hopefully it keeps growing. You may be asking yourself, Courtney, this one, what is this? Okay, this is my Maranta. And although like these bottom parts are really awesome, it's the top part for me that is the problem. And I think what happened was I went away for about 5 or 6 days for Thanksgiving. And mind you, I had watered all of my plants beforehand. I wasn't gone that long. All of my humidifiers were on. Everything looked fine. But when I came back, this plant, if you've never had a calathea, especially these kind, when they're dry, they're like this. They will be rolled up like this so tight. So that's what happened with this one. And it's weird because I have another one that's perfectly fine. But anyways, this one was like that. I put it in the shower, drenched it. I gave it a really good shower, good bath, gave it some TLC. And it was still like a week later, 2 weeks later, it wasn't unfurling. And I was really concerned about it because I'm like, okay, it doesn't usually take you that long to get rehydrated. So I ended up putting it in the plant room and eventually it's come back to life and it's fine now. But you can see like these are all the remnants of like the November incident. And I think it's going to continue to grow. It's doing fine now, but it looks so weird and bald that I hate it. I think what I'm going to do is repot it. And that really makes me nervous about this plant because I don't know, like any of my like big trailing plants, I just have no desire to repot them because I just think it's going to be a pain in my ass. But the closer I look at this, it only is growing from like a couple of spots. So it has like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 5 or 6 little stems. So I think what I can do is basically I can leave it in this pot, but take out this soil, basically position everything to be growing straight from the center and grow out that way. Or I can just put it in a smaller pot, but it would have to be a heavy pot because it's going to be, it has a lot. It's growing and it's a trailing plant. So that's probably going to be my solution for this because it's just too bald at the top. And I really don't feel like I want to like chop it and then stick a bunch at the top. I don't know that I feel like doing that, to be completely honest with you, but we'll see. My sad bird of paradise. This plant has been going through it. It hasn't been going through it, but I've been putting it through stuff. So as you can see, these outer leaves, that one already, I broke that one off actually. And this one back here, it's not doing hot. And I think one of the major reasons for that is because I've said in the past that I used to just always put this in the shower and shower it every month. But the last couple of months, I haven't done that. And I think that's what's causing the decline. I've watered it recently, but I just don't think it's enough. And I need to get back to my consistency of putting it in the shower at the beginning of every month. That's really what I feel like made this plant thrive. And although it's still alive, I know it's not its best just because it was used to that consistent watering. And I know that we can get this plant back to its glory. So we're just going to have to actually just water the plant. That's all this one needs. I actually don't think I showed you where I ended up putting my Monstera that I split up in my video last week. So I did split it up and I put the smaller piece, technically, even though it's huge, up here. I don't love this positioning, but honestly, it's like the best option that I have for how big this plant is. But you can see I have water spots on this. I need to get better about cleaning these leaves as well. But this plant is this leaf actually is flipped over backwards. And I've never seen this in my life. It was growing perfectly fine. And then like you can see back here, it just flipped one day. And I have not been able to basically put it back. I did get some comments on TikTok of like helpful tips to basically just like not hold it, but pin it basically like this. And honestly, that's what I should do. But I've just been so lazy. And now if I pin it, I don't even know where I pin it to because it's just been growing so oddly. and I feel like I might just end up letting it do its thing because what can I do? And also, I need to be a lot better about watering this plant because I have found that if I have a bigger plant, I'm usually lazier about watering, and I shouldn't be. I should be better about watering because they need the water too, just like my little plants. And last but not least is my Marble Queen pothos. You can see there's one yellow leaf, but honestly there were a lot more over the last couple of weeks. And this is the same issue that I have with a lot of my bigger plants, is that I tend to ignore them until the very last minute, till they're on their dying breath. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, let me water you. And like I said, for me, that's a form of overwatering when I let it dry out too much and then basically drown the plant in water. So yeah, it actually had a lot more yellow leaves in this over the last couple of weeks, but I did water it before it got to that point where it started to get completely droopy and look like complete crap. So I think I can easily solve this issue just by being consistent with my watering. And when I feel good, it usually makes my plants be a lot better. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.